This is one of those ugly, sudden turns that can reshape a season before the ink's dry on the box score. Dawand Jones, the Browns' emerging blindside anchor, who'd allowed 0 sacks through 3 weeks, is out for the year after a knee injury that requires surgery. For a team that just ripped off a gritty last-second win over Green Bay, the timing couldn't be worse. This isn't a minor shiver. It's a seismic hit that affects the Browns' offense now and their planning for the weeks ahead. First-order problem: Joe Flacco's protection. At 40 years old and with a long career behind him, Joe Flacco is a quarterback who needs 3 things to be effective this season: secure pocket time, a manageable dropback structure, and a running game that keeps defenses honest. Losing Jones removes one of the most important safeguards for each of those items. Jones wasn't just blocking edge rushers, he was giving Flacco the comfort necessary to work his progressions. Even though Flacco didn't light up the stat sheet, the Browns' scheme has been built around a veteran who can manage games, make throw after throw, and avoid turnovers. Replace that with a plug-in who hasn't practiced with the first unit all camp, and the probability of hurried throws, sacks, and push plays into negative yardage rises significantly. That's not theoretical. It's how game scripts change when a blindside protector is gone. What Cornelius Lucas brings, and what he won't. Cornelius Lucas is a veteran depth signing who can step in and perform competently as a swing tackle. He has starting experience, has shown he can hold up in pass protection, and can buy the coaching staff a degree of roster stability in the short term. That matters. Experience matters. So does technique. But there are realistic limits. Lucas is not Dawand Jones in terms of upside, run-blocking burst for the edge, or age profile. Expect fewer explosive, tackle-erasing pancake blocks and more fundamentals-focused, gritty play. He can keep Flacco upright in clean calls, but sustained pressure on 3rd and long or overloaded rush packages will test him. The coaching staff should not treat Lucas as a plug-and-play equal. They should treat him as an experienced stopgap and game plan around that reality. Scheme and play-calling adjustments that buy time eyes. The Browns should pivot quickly from personnel panic to pragmatic scheme edits that minimize the new offensive line's exposure. Practical moves. Shorten the passing game. Prioritize 3-step drops, quick outs, slants, and screens. These plays reduce the time the OL has to hold blocks and get the ball out to playmakers quickly. Max protect in obvious pass situations. Keep extra blockers in to shield Flacco on clear passing downs. Use RB chipping and inline help from TEs to limit QB hits. Increase pre-snap motion and rollouts. Get Flacco moving laterally, creating throws outside the pocket that reduce sack odds and take pressure off the left tackle. Re-emphasize checkdowns and schematic runs. Heavy use of inside zone, power concepts, and quick-hitting runs to regain a trustworthy ground game that eats clock and keeps defenses honest. Hidden bullets. Incorporate more play action that uses short, efficient steps from the QB. When done correctly, it freezes edge rushers and opens mid-level windows without asking the line to hold for eternity. Run game implications. Losing Jones can kill the run scheme's downhill identity if the offense doesn't adjust. The Browns already rank low in rushing yards per game. Losing a key lineman threatens to make that worse. The best fix is not heroics from backups, but smarter play calling. More gap scheme runs that don't ask tackles to reach on the edge, more inside zone doubles, and spacing concepts that get playmakers in space quickly. David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs become even more critical. The Browns should prioritize getting them touches on the perimeter and in space to limit tackle-on-tackle grinding. Longer-term roster and front office choices. The Browns face a choice. Treat this as a deal they can manage with internal depth and short-term signings, or pursue a real upgrade on the trade FA market. Options to consider. Promote from within and add a veteran swing tackle via free agency, a low-cost move that preserves draft capital but may only be a partial fix. Explore trade market for a starting quality left tackle if a realistic and affordable opportunity appears. That's costly but would stabilize the line for the season. Reallocate blocking resources, more TE-heavy sets, more receivers who can chip and block to make the line's life easier without changing personnel. Each path has costs, money, draft equity, or schematic constraints. The front office should evaluate trade prices carefully. Sacrificing too many assets for a patch can hamstring long-term roster building. Protection of the QB as narrative and reality. Beyond X's and O's, this injury reshapes the Browns' season narrative. If Flacco begins taking a steady volume of hits, his play will degrade and the team's margin for error will shrink. If that happens while the Browns are in a tight division race, confidence and locker room dynamics shift. That means coaches must be proactive. Public steadiness, private accountability, and visible tweaks in practice that show players the game plan protects them and maximizes their strengths. What the Browns must avoid: don't force a rebuild. Gutting the offensive identity overnight will confuse the locker room. Incremental change with a clear narrative is better than frantic overreaction. Don't ignore fundamentals. Poor technique from backups will be exposed quickly. Coaches must coach technique, not just schemes, in practice reps with the backup starters. Don't let the narrative spiral into panic. Fans and media will amplify any slip-up. The team must control messaging and focus on execution. Bottom line: losing Dawand Jones is a season-level hit for Cleveland. The Browns can survive and still win games if they act smartly. Plug in an experienced veteran like Cornelius Lucas, rapidly shift the scheme to reduce blindside pressure, retool the run-pass balance to protect Flacco, and evaluate the trade market responsibly. This remains Joe Flacco's team for now, but the margin for error narrowed overnight. How the staff responds, with measured adjustments rather than dramatic overhauls, will determine whether this becomes a minor speed bump or a defining fracture in the Browns' 2025 trajectory. They got the win, but the Browns just lost a linchpin. Joe Flacco walked off Lambeau with a walk-off field goal and a W, but on Monday the team learned their dependable blindside protector, Dawand Jones, will miss the rest of the season after knee surgery. Flacco's night looked like managerial football: 21 of 36, game managing the clock, and staying upright behind a line that allowed only 2 sacks. That stat masked how big Jones's presence was. Pro Football Focus had him at 0 sacks allowed through 3 weeks. He wasn't flashy, and for a 40-year-old starter like Flacco, reliability is everything. Now Cleveland must replace a 24-year-old starter with a 12-year veteran, Cornelius Lucas. He's rugged, experienced, and has quietly been a solid backup across multiple stops. Last season, he allowed 1 sack in nearly 500 snaps for Washington, a tidy little resume that suggests he can hold the fort. But holding the fort and being a long-term solution are very different things. The implications are immediate. Flacco has eaten a lot of hits over an 18-year career. He's been sacked hundreds of times. Removing Jones increases Flacco's exposure, and for a veteran whose reflexes and durability are finite, that's worrisome. The run game is in danger too. Cleveland ranks 29th in rushing yards per game, and losing a starting tackle can turn a middling ground attack into an anemic one. Schemes that relied on Jones' ability to set the edge and open lanes will need adjustment, fast. Here's how the Browns should react this week. First, simplify protection. Slide the line more, use quicker passing concepts, and insert chip blocks from tight ends and running backs to buy time. Second, rotate Lucas with depth pieces to keep him fresh and find matchups where his strengths, power, and experience help most. Third, consider short-term additions on the market. Veteran tackles are rare, but an emergency signing or a practice squad promotion could stabilize depth for the next chunk of games. There's also a bigger roster question. If Flacco falters under increased pressure, the Browns' quarterback timeline accelerates. Dylan Gabriel and Shader Sanders are watching closely. Developmental reps could come sooner if protection issues turn performance inconsistent. That would force the front office into a decision between standing pat or adding reinforcements at tackle and on the offensive bottom line. The Browns escaped Green Bay with a win, but Monday's medical news turned a feel-good result into a test of depth and coaching. This team can survive the loss of Dawand Jones, but it will require smart schematic fixes, urgent line work, and clear stewardship to keep Flacco healthy and the offense moving. Like the resilience? Drop a comment with how you'd shore up the Browns line and subscribe for the next update, because this team's season just became a lot more interesting.